What's up, everybody? Ruben here for another episode of Sports-REUBEN-LIFE. What I want to talk about is the NFL football game between the Baltimore Ravens and the Houston Texans. I looked at the schedule this weekend, and I knew and I felt that this was going to be the game of the week because they both have winning records, and between them two, there was only 5 losses in the whole season, right? So it was going to be a very competitive game. They have similar styles, right? But then you not only had what I thought was the game of the week, but you had the performance of the week, which Lamar Jackson again came through. He passed for 222 yards, 17 for 24, 4 touchdowns, no picks, only sacked one time, and that could be attributed to not only a good offensive line and strategy and everything, but his elusiveness is always going to be playing into a factor like this, right? So you have that, right? And then you have his running. He ran for 86 more yards, so that's 300 yards of offense. That's 9 carries, 24 pass attempts. That's 30, basically 33 plays of offense where he had direct control over the outcome of what happened, right? And so he had a big play. He had a 39-yard running play. It didn't result in a touchdown, but it didn't matter because it got him in great position. One of the things that you want to look at, I'm going to go over some stats with this, right? And this is why this is so impressive. The Houston Texans are a very good team, right? They have a similar style running back in Deshaun Watson, and he did very well. But the first statistic I want to get into is I talked about Lamar Jackson only being sacked one time, right? Okay, Deshaun Watson was sacked 6 times. Now, that could be as a result of them trying to come from behind and taking more chances. However, it is a tell of what I'm going to get to at the end, right? So then you have first downs, right? So you have Houston with 3 and the Baltimore Ravens with 12, right? And you say, well, they have, and then the biggest other disparity is 263 yards rushing for Baltimore for 122 yards rushing for Houston. That 122 yards rushing was doubled by Baltimore, right? More than doubled, right? But however, you would think that that's not something, that's a respectable number. Rushing for 122 yards is not bad, right? But then when you have somebody as dynamic and productive as Lamar Jackson on the other end, he's doing a lot of things that are helping his team not only get the lead, but stay in the lead and close out the game, right? Their running offense, their running attack is amazing, right? You got Gus Edwards. He ran for 112 yards. Lamar Jackson, 86. Mark Ingram had 13 carries for 46 yards, 48 yards, right? All those are really good numbers, right? All those are really, good stats, right? So the thing was that, the Baltimore Ravens have beat some really good teams, right? And I haven't talked about the last stat that I think is going to tie all this in together, but let me just talk about this real quick, right? If we look at wins and losses, right, what the Baltimore Ravens have been able to do this year, right? They beat the Houston Texans, right? A winning record, a good team. They beat the New England Patriots, right? They were undefeated at the time. They beat the Seattle Seahawks, right? Who beat the San Francisco 49ers, right? They beat some really good teams. They beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? Who at the time had a really good record too, right? So all those games, right? They're beating good teams, right? And so they have what they did in the past is telling us that they can beat good teams. So in other words, a good playoff team that can go to the Super Bowl has to be able to beat good teams. A lot of these teams that have good records, they didn't beat a lot of good teams. They beat a lot of teams that they were supposed to beat, so their consistency there. But when you beat good teams and you can control the ball and all this other stuff like that, that you have a potential. You could maybe go to the Super Bowl, right? It's everything's trending towards that direction, right? They have the Rams, the 49ers, and Buffalo. 3 in these next 3 weeks after this game, right? So all those guys have good winning records. They're very capable, very accomplished. That's going to be a very telling sign as to where these guys stand, right? They're 8-2. If they can go 3-0 in those next 3 games, that puts them at not only 11-2, but they beat all the good teams in the NFL essentially, right? So there's a big, plus. I talked about the Cleveland Browns, how they had some victories over good teams, and it's the same thing with Baltimore, right? They're very accomplished, but one of the stats that sticks out to me the most, and this is gonna be a short video, is time of possession. Time of possession, right? The Texans only had 23 minutes in terms of time of possession to 36, right? And that goes to show you that the offensive coordinator, their strategy, right, how they're going to utilize Lamar Jackson. I've been saying this for a long time that, like, when you have a capable running quarterback that is able to execute a game plan. The benefit of that whole thing is because of the rule changes for the quarterback and they can't really hit him, his durability is not going to be as detrimental. So in other words, his when he runs, he can run, but he's not going to get a lot of cheap shots taken on him, right? That's what happened. A lot of quarterbacks were vulnerable and they were getting injured that way, right? And so his durability factor is going to go up, and they're kind of taking advantage of these stricter rules on the running back, on the quarterback, right? And so the time of possession is huge, dude. It makes your defense look better because they don't have to be on the field as much. If you're only on the field 23 minutes of a 60-minute game, I mean, that's a crazy number, right? Time of possession, and that's done. And Houston does that by not only getting rushing first downs, as you can see, the disparity in that is 12-3 as well. And you see that the quarterback is a capable runner. So they're running the ball not only to beat you down, but now the defense has got to be on the field longer than what the average, time of possessions are, right? So if you not as an offense in Baltimore, they're controlling the ball, but they're not only that, is that they're making their defense look good or look better than they actually are because they just don't have to be on the field, right? So that means that defensively, they don't have to be perfect every single play. And offensively, if you're always playing catch up, as Houston had to, they're always trying to take it. They're going to start taking risks. They're going to start exposing some of their weaknesses, maybe plays that they're not as sharp or practiced in, and they have to take advantage of those kind of weaknesses, in terms of what they think they can do to try to catch up to Baltimore. Baltimore is not going to give you the ball back, and so you got to be perfect. So Baltimore's defense can do a little bit more in how they can attack because they don't have to be in the field as long. And so other teams do this time of possession thing. It's also, too, they only ran 64 plays for that much, so that means they're holding on to the ball in the huddle for a long time. There's a bunch of factors there in how you're controlling. You essentially start controlling and dictating how the pace of the game goes, right? The pace of the game is important. It's how fast you're snapping these plays, right? Because if you score 21 points and it takes you 3 plays to score 21 points and you have time of possession of 3-4 minutes, teams have a long time to try to recover and your defense is going to get worn out. When you not only score a lot of points and you're not giving the defense your defense is not being exposed. In other words, your defense is not even having to be on the field for a long time. They can do great things. Rested players that don't have to cycle in and cycle out all the time. See, a lot of people don't know that about players. When there's long drives, those defensive players have to get cycled. They have to get rotated in and out because they just get fatigued. And good quarterbacks and good teams recognize those substitutions and they take advantage of the number 2 guys being on the field, because even though they're still accomplished and they're still good, they're still an NFL level player. They're not as good as the first stringers for a reason, right? So that's what you do. You look for the weak points, right? The bottleneck of ability stops somewhere, right? And so because you can only afford to pay so many top level starters. So that being said, this was a very good game. It not only was the game of the week for me for the NFL, it was the performance of the week by the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Thomas, right? I like when he talks about and one thing you see him in his post game interview, he always talks about us. He's not a huge fan of the MVP talk, but everybody's starting to talk about it now. There's a couple games left in the season. There's 6 games left. They have a lot of tough games ahead of them. If they win those games, then it's going to be a lock for them to be ranked number 1 in power rankings in the NFL. So anyways, if you like this video, that was my thoughts on the Baltimore Ravens versus Houston Texans game of the week. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you guys think. This was a quick video, a little bit shorter than the other ones, but like, subscribe, all that good stuff. You know what to do. And if you like more videos, watch other videos, put them in the comments. I want to hear what you guys have to say. I thought this was a really good game this weekend. All right, talk to you guys later. Thanks, bye.